to share the knowledge for regarding the fourth semester of my early engineering statistics and linear algebra. So I will be sharing few topics with respect to the syllabus of the VTU 18 EC44. And welcome you all. So thanks for the nice next. So on this VTU syllabus, so I don't have much thing to do, and I request everyone to mute yourself and please plug in the earphones or the headphones, whichever you are convenient, so that we can interact well. So we have very limited time, just of 120 minutes. So I guess I can cover you for the 100 minutes, and the next 10 to 15 minutes I can take up for the questionnaire. And maybe if I'm feeling anything fast or else slow, you can tell me because the topics are convenient to it. So it is completely as you people are aware regarding the mathematical subjects. So moving on to the syllabus there. In the syllabus, I won't fetch much time here. So in the module number one, so we are dealing with respect to the single random variable, and based on this single random variable, so we feel with respect to the definition and various distributions, so which are very much efficient for the mathematical modeling, and as well, so we are familiar that with respect to the single random variable, we are going to adopt to our electronics and the communication domain. And as all we are aware, so we have the Richard Williams, which is also specified books, and the same topics I'm going to cover up to my knowledge. So now coming on to my first slide. So whenever we hear the term something called the random variable, and I'm limiting ourselves for the first topic with respect to my single random variable. We speak with respect to a single random variable, many things will come into picture because way long back from our school days, always x is an variable, unknown variable, if I'm to be specific. But we are hearing the term something called the single random variable. As we can fetch the meaning with respect to the single random variables is that the single is there, obviously it corresponds to one, and we have the term called the random as well as the variable. And the variable is there, always it is sure that so we are dealing with respect to the finding of the values or else corresponding values with respect to the condition of some equation or the function whatever. And now in particular about the random, as usual, so we are familiar that this term random, this corresponds to the condition there, so we are familiar, which is well known for the unpredictable. So for this reason, so we have the condition to deal with respect to my single random variables, and in this single random variable, so it is clear that so we are dealing only with respect to a single domain, or else way long back with respect to the graphical notations there. So I am familiar. So we were dealing with respect to the two different axes. Suppose if I can draw this graph there, I had my x as well as the y, which implies that so we had two-dimensional graph here. But in case of my single random variable, so I'm going to consider any one, either x or else the y. And now in this module, I'm not going to specify anything with respect to the vertical axis or else the horizontal axis. I'm very much prepared only with respect to the condition. So I'll assume that x and y both are interchangeable and they belongs to only a single domain. And with respect to my electronics, so I'm familiar that so majorly, so we deal with electronics and communication engineers. So we say that so we have the communication, something with respect to the scenario that we have transmitter as well as the receiver. So in that condition, at many times, even till today, we were not able to achieve 100% of efficiency with respect to my transmitters and as well as the sender. So inevitably, so we come across with respect to the noise, and whenever the noise comes into picture, so we need to deal with respect to a basic definition there. And noise is not under user control, which is unpredictable. So it can happen anywhere with respect to the condition of the transmitter or the receiver, or with respect to the channel, or with respect to the encoding and decoding techniques. Generally, we term it as the condition of my noise there. And for that condition, we require a random variable to analyze the behavior of the noise. And as well, we require this term, the random variable, exclusively to analyze the conditions with respect to stochastic process. And we have the stochastic parameters also. So we make use with respect to the stochastic parameters with respect to the communication systems, majorly with respect to the noise. And always we call it as the observation. And we comes into picture. So we have the transmitter and the receiver part. And whenever the transmitter and the receiver part is there, so it is clear that and comes into picture, it is clear that we are dealing with respect, and we call this as something. And this sample space in our definition, so we are going to represent with respect to something called as the S. And again, it's my duty to see that whenever I tell it as a random variable, so how to represent that? Or else, whenever we are dealing with respect to the conditions of a random variable, so we have a specific notation to deal. And this notation you can observe here. So I have written something with respect to the X here. So in this X condition, I have two things to be done. So one is the uppercase of the X and next is the lowercase of the X. And again, one more variable you can observe here. I have something called as the A here, the X of A. And again, X with respect to A there. So the two notations are differing here. So in this regard, it's our duty to see that so whenever the random variable comes into picture, I need to deal with respect to the two different types of variable with respect to a notation. And whenever the two different types of notations are there, it is clear that one is a random variable and other is an independent variable. So always throughout the syllabus, so whenever we come with respect to the lower case of my X or as any alphabet or as any unknown variable, we make use with respect independent variable. And whenever the capital X comes into picture, capital X, capital Y, or else any variable that corresponds to a random variable. And again, I have notated with respect to under the parenthesis, I have A and I have as well. You can observe here, I have written the A with respect to my subscript here. So at that condition, I tell that this independent variable or else any random variable which is respected with represented with respect to a function. So x of a, just you can observe here the capital X of a that defines me the notation with respect to the condition of my single random variable, and the small x that defines me the condition with respect to my independent variable there. So now let me take a simple example. So how we are going to differentiate between a algebraic variable and as well as the condition with respect to my random variable. So we are familiar, so way long back our school days, it is clear that x is an unknown term. So if I take a simple equation here, I have this 10 plus x is equals to 13. So it implies that with a simple calculation, I can tell that so I'm going to get x is equals to plus 3. So nothing rocket science in this, just I have done a simple condition here, just shifted my 10 towards my RHS condition, so I got this value as 3. And this x value is constant for this equation 10 plus x is equals to 13. Whereas if you take with respect to my single random variable, so we can't expect this kind of behavior with respect to a random variable. And they, even though the function remains same with respect to time or else with respect to the outcome based condition, so it is clear that so we are going to change its x value. So whenever it comes to the condition with respect to the scenario of the single random variables there, so we are going to deal with respect to a specified function, or else it is clear that always a single random variable is oriented with respect to a predefined function. So based on that itself, so we are going to deal with respect to the various kinds of the random variables. And whenever the random variables comes into picture, it is clear that we have a function. And these functions are built functions, or else it is clear that so we are dealing with respect to the condition of my simple addition, simple subtraction, or else the integration, the differentiation, the summation, whatever the basic functions we are familiar, that will be defined with respect to the condition of my random variable. Now, let us see what are all the significances so we can come with respect to a random variables. Or else just how exactly these random variables can be notated with respect to a condition of a function. So based on this condition, so I have basically to deal with respect to the five different conditions to be satisfied. And in these five different conditions, or else five different functions which I will make use of for its definition there. The first two conditions, this PDF, we call it as the probability density function here, and again the CDF, so which is nothing but the cumulative distribution function. So in this PDF and as well as the cumulative distribution function, so these two are interrelated to each other at every time, or else these forms as the common faces of a same coin. They just they are interrelated with respect to maybe in terms of my integration and the differentiation there, or else majorly with respect to notation also. These two functions are interrelated, and based on these two conditions, so I am going to define something called as my conditional random variable. And in this conditional random variable, so whenever we have a specific case to be defined, or else whenever we have the limits to be considered, suppose see that x1 x2, or else generally we call with respect to our integration something with respect to the upper limit as well as the lower limit condition. And the next thing I need to define with respect to the scenario of the multiple random variables. And this multiple random variables we define similar to single random variable, but we are going to consider with respect to the various dimensions there. Usually the multiple random variables in our syllabus, so we are going to deal with respect to the scenario of my various dimensions there. As we got as whenever the two variables comes into picture, it is clear that we are dealing with respect to the bivariate condition. And next we are to define with respect to the process there, that is considered, we call it as something called the random process. And again, coming on to this, again the notation or as a representation of my random variables, it is clear that one thing you can observe here. So we have the sample space, something called as the X, and in this sample space, yes. So we are defining with respect to three variables. I have A, B, C, and these three variables they are related with an variables there something with respect to XA and XB. And one thing you can make sure that I have the XB condition, and in this XB condition, so which are related with respect to my variables B as well as the C. And one thing for sure, please observe here. So we have the condition with respect to the X, and which implies that I'm dealing with respect to the condition of my single dimension. And coming on to the next scenario, I have two terms to be defined here with respect to a single random variable. It is clear that I have S and as well as something called as the Sx. S corresponds to the total space here, and Sx corresponds to something called the subspace, which is defined with respect to this particular time interval. So, and again in this condition, we don't have any limitation there for this representation. I can take any variables belong back from A to Z there. Or else it is clear that we are dealing with respect to various alphabetical variables or else unknown variables. I can just make use. So you can observe in the notation here, I have x of a is equals to xa and I have x of b is equals to xb. I have done here. So which implies that this x of a is some function or corresponding to some random variable. So this small x, as for the basic definition, that corresponds to an independent variable here. And based on this, I can tell that all the random variables or all the conditions with respect to the noise in our communication systems that corresponds to the same scenario. So we have the various combinations there belong back from the signals and systems. So I am familiar with respect to something called the same old functions or else something with respect to my sine wave as well as the cosine wave. So we have it. So in this condition, the sine wave, which is a continuous signal, or else we call it as the continuous random variable. And after that, we are familiar something with respect to my definition of a signal with respect to the particular time interval. And in that particular time interval, I'm going to tell the individual value, and this individual value that comes into picture with respect to my discrete random variable. And after this discrete random variable, I can't expect in the communication system to have only the conditions with respect to the scenario of only the continuous or discrete. But I can have the condition with respect to the mixed condition. So I will say that the discrete, so which can be represented something like this, and again the mixed condition, so I can have the combination of those two. So I can have in a particular time interval along my x-axis. So we have the condition there. So some part is continuous, and the next part I can have the discrete representation. Even I can represent the discrete signal with respect to my signals also, something with respect to by particular time instant. So we are going to represent. So based on this current function, let me define the first distribution function, something called the cumulative distribution function. And in this cumulative distribution function, or else whatever we got as something called as the CDF condition here. In this CDF condition, with respect to my cumulative distribution function of the condition, I am going to represent with respect to the condition of my probability. And whenever I'll say that something with respect to the probability, it just similar to the tossing of a coin, or something with respect to the dice condition there, number of equiprobable conditions, or else number of conditions what it can have, or else it is clear that the probability conditions, so we can have only with respect to the value ranging between 0 to 1, or else one thing I can tell, this cumulative distribution function, so which can have only with respect to the scenario of the finite value. All these functions, the CDF or else the PDF conditions, so we can't tell that, so we are going to have some resultant unknown values. All these values are something the finite values itself. So I'm going to represent that the cumulative distribution function always with respect to the uppercase of the function, that is the f, with respect to the probability x ranging less than the x condition, or else as for the basic definition, it is clear that, so we have the condition the capital X corresponds to a random variable and which should lie with respect to my independent variable here. So now there is no limit, so we can take any kind of the variables or else any sort of representations for our condition x, y, z, a, b, c, d, whatever we have. So we say that always this cumulative distribution function, so we are dealing with respect to the condition of my independent variable as well as the probability with respect to my the cumulative distribution function with respect to my random variable. So coming on to the next condition here, so we need to define with respect to, or we need to discuss something with respect to the properties of my CDF, or else whatever we call the cumulative distribution function. So one thing we can I can tell that, so we have the functions to deal with respect to the maximum two limits. I can have the values varying between the minus infinity as well as the plus infinity condition, the very first value. In the next condition, I can tell that all the finite values that can be reliable between the conditions of my 0 to 1. And as well, so we are dealing with respect to the conditions of the representation of the property. So whenever we have the function, the probability of x, which is lying between x1 and as well as the x2 condition, in this notation, this I can tell that my x1 corresponds to my lower limit and x2 corresponds to my higher limit there. So at that condition, I can redefine this, so which is nothing but the function of x2 that corresponds to the higher limit with a subtraction of function of x1 condition, and we require this property. So whenever we go through the problem with the direct substitution, so easily, so we can do that. And again, coming on to the next condition, so always we say that this CDF is a non-decreasing function. So just you can observe with respect to this graph here. So we have the condition. So always it keeps on raising here. So we don't have any dip at any condition there. So it starts from 0 and goes till the 1 condition. So only we say that it is either a decreasing function or else the condition of a constant function. But we tell that it is a non-decreasing function at any instant of time. We don't have the condition to deal with respect to the dip in the graph or else the representation there. So only we say that, so this CDF condition that I can deal with respect to my first order differentiation, I'm making use of the same with respect to my bivariate condition while defining the CDF condition. Again, in this case of the CDF also, I have similar to my single random variable, the three different types will be there, something with respect to my continuous and something with respect to discrete, and as well, so we are going to deal with respect to my mixed one. So coming on to the next condition, after defining the first function, that is my cumulative distribution function. So I need to deal with respect to my PDF. As I said previously, this CDF and PDF, they are related to each other. It is just as similar to the faces of the coin. So whenever we can define the CDF easily, I can define my PDF also, as they are related with respect to the differentiation and the vice versa, that is the integration there. So this PDF, we say that the probability density function, so with respect to a continuous random variable, so that I am defining with respect to a function, something called the f of x. Always I'll make use of this PDF representation, something with respect to my probability density function with respect to the condition of my f of x. Or just you can observe here, I'm making use of the lower case of my f of x. So throughout this module, throughout this subject, so we make use of the f of x. It's a lowercase of f of x itself for the representation of my PDF, and the uppercase of my f of x. So this I'm going to take care with respect to my CDF condition. So just I can define that. So there, in case of my CDF, I have defined with respect to the condition that, so we have the values ranging between the 0 to 1. But now PDF, I'll tell that, so we are dealing with respect to the condition of my the area under the curve, or else so we are familiar something with respect to the graph here. So if I can take this, so just I can tell that the area under this curve, always we make use of 1. Or else whenever in case of my exercise condition, we tell that the area under the curve, the PDF with respect to the condition RHS or LHS condition, I'm going to make use with respect to 1 to find its unknown values. So coming on to the next condition, as I said, this CDF and PDF, they are interrelated to each other. So I can take here, so in my LHS, I have my f of x, so which is nothing but the first order differentiation of my f of x condition, and this f of x, which corresponds to my CDF. So now I can tell that from this equation, I'm able to get the condition of my f of x, or else something with respect to my CDF condition, which is nothing but the integration with respect to my f of x, and this f of x corresponds to my PDF with respect to my dx condition. So this is the basic relationship throughout in each and every step. So we are going to make use of it. So coming on to the properties of my PDF condition, else something with respect to my probability density function. So as I said that area under this curve is equals to 1, always it is clear that, so we have this area here, and again one thing you can observe here in the very next the topic we are going to discuss something with respect to my Gauss function, or else something with respect to my Gaussian random variable, something with respect to the Gaussian noise. So we take with respect to the curve whatever we have, and then under this curve, so we are taking with respect to area as 1. Total area under this curve with respect to a PDF value, it will be 1. But one thing we should make sure that, so we are dealing with respect to the limits. One thing you can observe here, as we have defined with respect to my CDF also, so we have the two limits condition, that is my x1 as well as the x2 condition. So at that scenarios, so it is clear that, so we are dealing with respect to the upper limit as well as the lower limit condition. So we can observe here in this example graph, so I have the lower limit as -2 and I have the upper limit as +2 condition. So even though the graph is there is between -4 to +4, but I am limiting myself, my concerned area or as my area of interest. So to limit ourselves with respect to my -2 and +2 conditions there. So because one thing you can observe here, the -4 to -2 condition, so we are not worried with respect to the least values, the marginal values, because so we have 0 to 0.5, which is negligible one when compared to the highest value as zero point 0.4. So we are taking this just for example. So we are dealing with respect to this. So based on this condition, so in case of my PDF, that is my probability density function, it is our duty to see that how exactly this can be notated, or else how exactly this can be represented condition. So in this scenario, for this PDF condition, so I am going to represent something called as the expectations. Always we represent expectations in terms of the capital E under the parenthesis. And as well, we are going to define with respect to the variance. And based on these two conditions, I need to define with respect to my correlation operator or something with respect to my correlation. So in this correlation, especially we make use of two different types of correlation. So one is my cross correlation and as well as with respect to my autocorrelation condition. So in this scenario, so we make use of the autocorrelation condition exclusively for my time domain signals. Or else, so we make use of this operator, something called the correlation there. It is with respect to the condition of my demodulation there. As we are familiar, so we have various signals in our communication systems which has to be recollected or else synthesized at the receiver condition. And the chances of this synthesis or demodulation or as the reconstruction of any signal that corresponds with respect to my the correlation function. So we need to match the received signal with respect to my previously existing message signals there, or else we need to approximate it, and that condition we call it as the correlation. And coming on to this cross correlation condition, so in detail we have in the next modules, we shall see that later. But one example, one important thing we need to take care with respect to the condition of my autocorrelation. So we have a limitation here. This autocorrelation are exclusively important with respect to my time domain signals, as autocorrelation works only for my time domain signals for the recovery. And again, in case of my PDF, the probability density function, so we are going to consider with respect to the spectral densities there. As we saw with respect to my previous example, I have limited with respect to -2 and the +2 conditions. Or else, just I can take with respect to the first example, you can observe here, I am limiting my area of interest with respect to my A as well as the B. And in this condition there, it is clear that my lower limit is A and the upper limit is B, and I am going to worry only regarding the conditions with respect to the density in this particular interval. So only we call this as something called as the spectral densities for the particular signal. And again, coming on to the next scenario, even this spectral density is also be defined with respect to the condition of my probability itself. So what are the chances there? So just for the definition, I'll take that whatever the values with respect to 0 till the A condition, I'm going to take it as 0 just for the analysis there, as I'm interested only in this particular time interval. And as well as even this greater than B also, I will take this value as 0 as my area of interest lies only between my A as well as the B. And not only for this bell-shaped signals, this PDF can be applied. One thing you can observe here, I have this bar chart here. RL just density curves which are represented based on this bar chart scenario. And in this bar chart scenario, so we can observe that so we have the various values which are represented, and I need to approximate with respect to a bell-shaped function. Or else one thing you can observe here, just I am taking just the approximation curve, or else just I can call this something with respect to my expectation. And again, let me take one more example with respect to my time domain signals there. So maybe it can be a speech signal, so which is continuous here. So one thing you can observe. So we have the amplitudes which will be varying there. But if you take this window here, in this window, so almost we have a constant response. Or else if you can able to extract only this part of signals, it was clear that so we have a constant value, or else the spectral density will lie in the particular time interval. And again, coming on to the next function after defining this probability density function and as well as my cumulative density function. So it is my duty to define something with respect to the mass. And this mass function we got as the probability mass function, which is resembled with respect to my PMF here. And in this PMF condition, so I'll tell that I'm going to take the algebraic sum, or else I'm going to add it. And again, in this Pi, that corresponds to I corresponds to the variability with respect to the various values starting from 1 to n, and where n defines the number of discrete outcomes. So now I can tell that this probability mass functions, so we are going to have with respect to the condition of the discrete outcomes itself, or else this is defined exclusively with respect to a discrete random variable. And in this discrete random variable, we are going to take care with respect to my number of outcomes or else the outputs, and we are going to add it with respect to a simple probability condition there. And always we say that this total sum, the algebraic sum, or the condition of my P1, P2, P3, this will be always with respect to the total value is summed towards the one itself. And we require this property whenever we have a discrete random variable. So we have two different values will be there in two different column wise. At that condition, we are going to equate it and solve few problems there. So now coming on to my discrete random variables. In this discrete random variables, let me define with respect to my CDF, that is my cumulative distribution function. And in this cumulative distribution function, I am going to represent with respect to a condition of my unit step function. And in this unit step function, it was clear that we are dealing with respect to the constant amplitude of 1, and discretely it will be present over the time interval. And one thing you can observe here in the example graph, what I have shown, so we have zero value, I don't have any unit step function, 1, 2, sorry, -4, -3, -2, and the -1. So we don't have the we are going to have the condition of my book. So only I'll say that. So whenever the signal is there, and that signal we have the x greater than xi condition, and this xi condition that is going to deal with respect to my unit step function, or else we are going to deal with respect to the conditions of my unit value, the amplitude will be 1, and from that condition, so we are going to excel, and or else we make use of this unit step function. So whenever we wish to take with respect to the condition of my CDF and the PDF value with respect to a single random variable. Now defining the PDF of it, so just as per the interrelationship between the unit step function, it is my duty to deal with respect to my impulse function. And as the CDF and PDF, they are interrelated. So I am going to represent with respect to my unit step function, so which is going to perform, which is going to be present only at time instant 0. Or else if you wish to take only the single function which will be there with respect to the condition of at that particular time instant, or else with respect to my integration and the differentiation relationship, just I can tell that. So we are going to have as well as the unit step function, they are interrelated based on my basic integration and a differentiation function. And based on this, till now, just I have discussed regarding the few topics here. So first, I have represented a single random variable with the notation we have discussed, and as well as types of random variables, the continuous, discrete, and the mixed one. And we saw the definition of my CDF, PDF, and probability mass function. So this is the outcome there. And lastly, in the till the previous slide, we have discussed with respect to the CDF and the PDF condition. And moving on to the next condition, it's a midway summary here. So I need to define with respect to a single random variable some stochastic process or stochastic variables there. And these stochastic variables I'm going to take with respect to the mean, variance, and the second order movement. Or else this mean value I'm going to take with respect to my expectation, and as well as the variance, something with respect to square I'm going to take care, and the second order movement. Then meanwhile we are going to look into that. And before moving on to this expectations or else the variance or else second order movement there, so it is quite well expected question to have the condition, or else we can relate all these three parameters, it is the mean, variance, and the second order movement, with a simple equation. So that we are going to see next. So now let me see the definition with respect to the condition of my random variable, something with respect to the expectation of some variable x, or else so we are familiar with respect to this expectation or mean value of any random variable. So is with respect to the condition of my mu x, or else mean always we make use with respect to my mu x itself. So I'm going to tell that expectation of the x that will be taken care with respect to my mu x, and this can be represented with respect to my single integration, that is my x value, then this x is my independent variable with respect to the predefined function fx of dx. And again we have one more condition to be defined, something called the second order movement. And this second order movement, so I, before going to the second order movement, just one thing I with respect to my x to the power of 1. Suppose if this x to the power of 1 has changed to x to the power of 2, or else we got it as the x square, which implies that generally I can tell that it will be remains constant, something to deal with respect to the single integration of the function of my x variable with respect to f of x and as well as the dx condition, or else just I can tell that in a single line the mean of any discrete random variable x is an weighted average of all the possible values with respect to the random variable whichever we consider. Now coming on to this representation based on my variance there, variance always it is clear that it is something similar to the condition of how it is going to variate, or else it is going to change based on the reference value, or else we say that with respect to the condition of my random variable, the variance corresponds to the condition that in what amount it is going to change, and the relationship between this variance and the mean, so I can just take that the variance I am represented with respect to my variance of the x, which is nothing but the expectation of x minus mu x the whole square, because the variance always we are going to compare based on the condition of the difference itself. So this x is my independent variable and mu x is my mean value I am considering. So just I'm using this. And again, before moving on to the next step there, so let me confirm now itself. So it is clear that so we are dealing with respect to the condition of y, the expectation of any independent value or any constant value that will be constant itself, or else this expectation can be applied only for the random variables itself. So just by applying the simple formula a minus b the whole square condition, so I'm going to get expectation of the x square plus expectation of the mu x square, that is the mean square, minus expectation of 2 times of x as well as the mu x condition. And as I said that the expectation of x is nothing but the mu x condition or the mean value. So I'm going to take care here just with the simple simplification. So I can tell that this variance that will be equals to the combination of my second order movement with respect to my mean square, or else the expectation of the x square, the second order movement, which will be equals to the sum of the variance as well as my mean square value. So now I can tell that the second order movement is equals to the sum of the variance and the square of its mean value. And in case of the expectations, so we have something to discuss, or else where exactly we are using this expectation. It is clear that so whenever we deal with respect to power or else something with respect to my communication systems, I can't expect any communication system to be only with respect to AC or else only with respect to the DC condition there. So always we are aware that this power that will be the combination of the AC as well as the DC signal. So as the power, it can have the combination of AC as well as the DC. And if any component is absent there, suppose if you take the condition of my modulation techniques there, if the AC power is 0, we take it as is not there, we take it as 0. Or else if DC is not there, we take it as 0. It's a simple analogy there. So now I can just tell that the second order movement, that is my expectation of the x square, which will be the sum of the variance. The variance is constant there, it is rho square, and again with respect to the square of its mean as well as, so we are familiar that this mean value, it is nothing but my ux condition, and we make use of this relation with respect to the condition of my communication systems for the derivation of the AC power as well as my DC power condition. And again, we have one more term, something called the standard deviation. So till now, just I have discussed that. So whatever it was there with respect to the condition of my condition of the square value with respect to the variance there with respect to the condition of the mean. So what if the square value is not there? And what is the square root of the variance? We call it as the standard deviation. And this standard deviation is always a positive function. Or else if you have the standard deviation, I can able to easily generate the value of my variance conditions there. So coming on to the next scenarios there, so it was clear that there is expectation of the g of x or else some value, some predefined function, whatever we have, it is nothing but as we have described previously, it is the first integration or the first order integration with respect to my function, that is my g of x. So with respect to my f of x into dx condition. And again, in this scenario, we are familiar that this function g of x can also be changed to any x value. If this x square value is there, at that condition, we make use with respect to the scenario of my second order movement, and we saw in the previous discussion with respect to my representation and as well as the correlation between them. Now, let me make an important note here. The expectation of a constant, it will be constant always. And as well, we have something to deal that the expectation of the mu or the expectation of the mean value, that will be always the mean value. We can't process any of the condition of my mean values or other constant values. The expectation of this, that remains same. Coming on to this linearity property here. So one thing I can observe here, I have the function ax plus b here. In case of my ax plus b condition, so we have the condition, if I apply the expectation operator, so expectation operator which can be applied only for my x value or else the variable condition. And I am going to take this a and b as my constant values. So in this scenario, a is a constant. As I said, this expectation of a constant is a constant there. So if I apply expectation for a also, that remains a itself. So I am taking it as a, and as well as expectation of x, I am applying an expectation of the b. With the basic definition, it is b itself. And that's just a single comment I can make, that all the statistical parameters will be always a constant. So now coming on to my characteristic function. So in this characteristic function, or else I'm going to define with respect to the condition of my exponential function or something with respect to e to the power of x, or else in case of my signals there, else we are familiar, something to represent with respect to e to the power of j omega x, and we are applying. Hello. Gaurav, Sonali, anything doubt, madam there? Something they are speaking. So fine. So now coming on to this characteristic function, as I said, something to represent with respect to e to the power of omega x, or else something to discuss with respect to the exponential function with respect to the scenario of my e to the power of x. And whenever we apply the expectation operator, as I said, the expectation is an operator which we can make use with respect to any random variables there. Suppose if a random variable is of the kind of e to the power of j omega x, even at that condition also the definition remains same, something with respect to the integration e to the power of j omega x f of x with respect to my dx condition. Or else this expectation operator is just as similar to my Fourier transform. So whenever we apply the Fourier transform, so we are going to convert any time domain signals towards my frequency domain, and we make use of the same scenario. So now let me represent the most interesting one with respect to the conditioned random variable. And in this conditioned random variable, so let me take an example. Why it is called as the conditioned random variable? So in this condition random variable, so it is clear that So we have a variable, something called the x here, and this x is conditioned towards my b, or else something we have the condition to deal with respect to, or else something we make use of the terms called as subjected to. Or else in this condition, so whenever we make use of the two components, or else two things to be compared, or something with respect to the received signal has to be compared with the existing signal. At that scenarios, so we can able to represent way long back from the theory of the probability, there else from the Venn diagram, or else we are familiar with respect to something called the joint probability function. So I'm going to make use that, and wherever this b is a function which is the subset of the existing one itself, and that will be the probability of my x, so which will be limited towards my x value and the condition of my derived function, that is the b value, with my probability of the b, and again this b, so which will be the condition of my subset which was derived from the condition of my existing subset S itself. And we make use of this condition random variable, or else something with respect to joint probability, even in our bivariate functions also, that we shall see immediately after this. So now coming on to this PDF conditionals, whenever we say that, so So now see that. So we have some signal which is varying with respect to my 0 to x. And in the 0 to x, I have the condition to deal with respect to my PDF here, as we can observe over the notation. So in this value of the x, I am interested, or as I need to limit my discussion with respect to the condition of my x1 and x2, or else whenever I wish to take only the scenario with respect to the condition of my x1 and x2 condition. So it was clear that, so I have my upper limit as lower limit as x1 and the upper limit as x2 condition, as x is an increasing function along my x-axis. So we have defined now the area between this x1 and x2. So we are going to tell that, so we have the subspace, or else which is derived the probability of the b, whatever we have defined in our previous slide, something with respect to the b, and probability of b, this corresponds to the condition of the scenario with respect to the derived function itself. So now if I represent, it is going to reduced for the function, so just you can observe here, and again as per the basic definition in my PDF condition, as I was defining, so we should take the area under the curve as 1. And whenever we take the area under the curve as 1, so it was clear that, so in that particular time interval, so we are going to deal with respect to my x1 as well as the x2. We should take it as 1 value. So now, which can be limited. As I was telling that, so we have the functions with respect to the scenario of my x1 and as well as the x2, or else in general, the values, so we are very much familiar. So with respect to the condition to deal with respect to my plus infinity and as well as the minus infinity condition. So if I'm going to apply with respect to the conditions with respect to the minus infinity as well as the plus infinity conditions there, so we can take, we need to derive with respect to the b, so which was derived from my function itself. So I can tell that, so my x value, that is my random value, which is lying between the x1 as well as the x2, or else before this x1 there, so minus infinity till the x1 condition and x2 after the plus infinity condition, or else I can define with respect to the condition of my minus infinity towards my x2 and x2 and infinity, and I have the next interval with respect to my x1 and x2. So this is what the condition, so we need to define, and based on the Bayes theorem, or else based on the condition of my joint probability condition, by defining these values I am able to define f of x by b, and this x corresponds to the single random variable and this b corresponds to the derived function, so which can be taken with respect to my fx of x minus the x1 condition. Even though the values is lying between x1 and x2, but I have defined the interval. One thing you can observe here, something with respect to the x value laying between x2 and infinity in this region, and again minus infinity and the x2 condition. So I am defining with respect to the, fx of x minus fx of x1 condition. So with respect to my derived function, that is b. And as well, it is so important that whenever we have the condition with respect to the value which is greater than the x2 condition, at that x2 condition, I am going to take with respect to the 1 condition. And based on this condition, we have some formulas for the problems or else some observations to be done with respect to my variance and as well as the mean values. Just we are using the basic definitions here with respect to the mean value as well as the definitions. And in case of my conditioned random variables, so it is our duty to define some functions here. And again, in this some functions there, the most importantly, the most interesting and as well as which we are going to deal is my Gaussian random variable. And after this Gaussian random variable, so we have uniform distribution function and we have something called the exponential random variable, and we have this Bernoulli's principle also, something we define with respect to my P as well as the Q, and that we shall see later. So now coming on to my uniform distribution function. So let me take that. So we have some signal which is laying between y1 and y2 there, and as it is my single random variable, I'm going to take with respect to my y as they have defined, and I can define that with the application of simple integration there. So my value of is my y1 and y2, or else whatever it's there in my first graph, this is my PDF function, and to get the CDF value, it is going to change that. So from y1 to y2 value, or else from the basic definition, so we have taken that the CDF will be always a non-decreasing function. So at this particular time interval, it is clear that it keeps on varying till the maximum value. The maximum value will be 1 and it reaches the constant value after my y2. And this is what the condition, or else the third last point after this y2 till the plus infinity condition. So it is clear that so we are dealing with respect to the scenario of my 1 itself, or else this is the basic relationship between the PDF as well as my PDF condition with respect to the uniform distribution function. Coming on to the next scenario, let me take some exponential random variable. In this exponential random variable, the PDF of any exponential random variable that can be given by the condition of my lambda into e to the power of minus lambda x. Again, it is clear that as they are related through a integration of my f of x, that gives me the CDF condition. It completely changes something with respect to my non-decreasing function and reaches the value after this x interval. It is going to be constant. So coming on to the next interesting one, that is my Gaussian random variable here. And this Gaussian random variable, so it is majorly represented by the equation or the PDF, which can be given by f of x, or else you can take any variable f z of z, which will be equals to 1 by square root of 2 pi e to the power of minus x square by 2, or else minus z square by 2. And just if I integrate this, I'm going to get the condition of my CDF here. And again, one more scenario, the more interesting property of my Gaussian random variable is, and again in the examination, so we are going to get only one table is allowed. So majorly, that is my Gaussian table will be allowed. And this Gaussian table, so we are going to tell that the area, so under this curve, as usual, for my conditions of a CDF and PDF, we take it as 1. But so we are going to limit ourselves with respect to the value. It is constant, that plus 3 to the minus 3 condition for my PDF value. And again, please make sure that, so in case of my PDF notations, so we are going to represent with respect to the condition of my plus 3 and the minus 3 itself. And correspondingly, in case of my CDF notation there, it is clear. So we are dealing with respect to my plus 3 and the minus 3, but as a non-decreasing function, so minus 3, it starts increasing at the origin. At 0 level, this will be 0.5 and reaches the 1 at my plus 3 value, or else this Gaussian random variable, so we are going to take that the condition of the mean and the variance will be 0 and the 1. That is the most interesting property of my Gaussian random variable. Because of this property itself, in our communication systems, so we are going to tell that something with respect to the condition of my white Gaussian noise, as it will be present throughout the signal. So we make use of the term called as the white and the Gaussian noise condition. Because of this mean and the variance, so we have 0 and 1 respectively, so we are going to take. And this Gaussian table is going to look something like this. It is just as the appearance with same as my basic logarithm table, or else the log books, what whichever we are familiar in our 11th or 12th standard there. So one thing you can observe here, so we have the value of my z here, just you can observe here with the 0 condition, 0.00 condition with the 2-digit accuracy, I can take that it is my 0.5. And coming on to my plus 3 condition, once again you can observe here in this plus 3 condition here, or 3 condition here, so we have the condition at the last value 0.9988. This is what the condition to be discussed. And again, one thing comes into picture. I was telling that I have the values ranging between plus 3 and as well as the minus 3 condition. So just I have defined with respect to the 0 and as well as the 3 here. Next, the question comes into picture. What if we have the minus value? At that condition, it is clear that I am making use of one of the relation here just as the mirror function. As you can observe here, this graph from 0 to plus 3 is exactly the mirror image towards my minus 3 location. So for that condition, I am making use of the function something called as our phi of minus z, that will be equals to 1 minus phi of z value. So based on this, let me check this. After this a minute, I'll take a break. So just let me define this probability of minus of 0.505, which is lying between 1.456. So now one thing you can observe here, the lower limit is minus 0.505 and the upper limit is 1.456. So in this scenario, as for the basic function there, so as I am very much familiar, the function of the upper limit minus the function of the higher level, lower limit condition. Then the scenarios for this minus, let me apply the formula 1 minus phi of 0.505. So I got this 1.456. And one thing that you can observe here with respect to this table, I can take the average of it, as we have a 2-digit accuracy, something we have the 4 digits if it may come. At that scenarios, I am going to take the average of it. And if I take the average of it for this 0.505, so you can observe here the 0.5 condition, I should take the 0.505. So that will be, so 0.505, I am going to get 0.3795. I am going to take it. So I have this zero point 0.5 here. So 0.505, I can take something here. So I'm going to get that value. And if you apply the simple mathematics, I'm going to get this value. And this is the probability of the condition of the variable z, which will be between the time intervals, between the intervals 1.456 and minus 0.505 condition. So before this, we can take the break. Gaurav, hope I'm audible. Hello? Gaurav, can you hear me?
Hello. Hello, Anil sir, you can continue.
Yeah, fine, sir. Just a minute. Then till now, whatever we have discussed, it will be regarding my single random variable. Till now, my notation was exclusively with respect to my single domain. Or just I have taken with respect to my x. Now, what if we have the multiple domains? So I can't take it linearly, or else I can't take this x and y as the condition to deal with respect to the horizontal and vertical. They are going to behave in total. If we have only the vertical notations, that is fine, or else if we have only the horizontal notations, that is also fine. But whenever it is together, so we need to locate at that particular point, at that scenarios. So we are going to consider something with respect to the condition of my multiple random variables. And again, this is our module number 2 with respect to my multiple random variables in our statistics, engineering statistics and linear algebra there. So it was very much familiar. So by the base of my previous topics till now, from 50 minutes and odd, whatever I have discussed, I'm going to discuss regarding my multiple random variables. And in this multiple random variables, it is clear that whatever we have, that is going to deal with respect to the various random variables. And the topics will remain same, but we apply for 2 or 3 different random variables by its definition there. And based on this, I'm going to define something with respect to the functions, and we have the Cauchy-Riemann random variables, and we have the Rayleighs, and we have the student tree, and as well as the chi-square test, something we are dealing. And most importantly, we are dealing with respect to our central limit theorem also as a point of concern. And before this, again, let me start for this multiple random variables. In this,
We can take a break and take some questions right now, sir.
yes, sir. Can I access the chat box?
Yeah, you can go through. I think there are no questions, but I request the students to put their questions or any doubts if you have regarding the session. So, sir will answer them. Sir, I think there are no questions, so you can continue, sir.
Gaurav, if you can unmute the participants if anyone is willing. If there is
I
a
think there are no questions, I think.
yeah, fine.
Uh, sometimes they will only share the questions to the presenter, so even you can check on the chat window if there are any questions.
So something Shilpa Pawar has raised.
Okay.
Yeah, unmute her.
Answer them.
Purnima is asking to share the slides. So please check with the coordinators. Hope they will share at the end of the session.
Links will be shared to only IEEE student members. The
Someone
link
asking.
and the slides and as well as the recording will be shared only with the IEEE student members.
Hope that is clear.
And if you have anything regarding the session which sir did for the past 50 minutes, you can ask the questions now.
Hope they are waiting for the end of the session. Last 10 minutes, we
Maybe.
can take the question.
I think you can continue, sir. Maybe they'll ask questions at the end of the session.
So now coming on to my multiple random variables. So in this multiple random variables, so in this multiple random variables, so we are going to limit our discussion only for the number of variables, random variables will be 2. Or else just I can tell that. So we are, Gaurav, I'm audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible. Yes, sir. You can go ahead.
In case of my 2 random variables or else my bivariate random variables, so we are going to discuss regarding my two-dimensional representation. Or else on a blind note, so we have the conditions to deal with respect to the variables there if number of variables are n, which implies that we are dealing with respect to my n different domains. But all our signals majorly we are going to limit generally for my two variables or my three variables condition. So in that scenario, so I'm going to tell that these two, if we are considering the two variables, so it is clear that it is my bivariate random variable. If I'm having the three variables there, that will be the trivariate condition. So now for the representation, so let me take the two domains, whatever we are familiar, something with respect to my x and the y. And we are taking care with respect to x and the y with respect to the observations itself. That is what the major condition. And I am going to tell that something with respect to my n number of observations over the interval x and y. And we tell that we are going to have n number of outcomes. Or else if n observations are there, it is clear with respect to my n number of data, or else n pair of data with respect to the nutrition. Or else in general, just I can tell that in case of my bivariate random variable, usually suppose whenever we wish to discuss with respect to a graph or something with respect to my x-axis as well as the y-axis. Suppose if I need to mark a point here, I have my x coordinate here and I have a y coordinate here, and all this x and y. Usually we take that. So with respect to the condition of my x and y, both are the random variables, and we are going to have the scenario with respect to my x as well as the y. Again, in this condition also, the same scenario, we are going to deal with respect to the condition of my CDF, what we have defined with respect to my single random variables. And in this single random variable, f of f, the capital F of x, just I can tell. So which will be the probability of the x, which will be less than the x. RL just till now, as we are aware that this x corresponds to a random variable, that is the uppercase of the x, and the lowercase of the x, that defines me the condition of my independent variable. So now I am bounding with respect to the condition of my x and independent condition. I am limiting ourselves with respect to the variable of the x itself. So with respect to that condition, again, if the two variables are there, I can define that the f of x comma y, so which will be equals to the probability of the random variable less than the independent variable x, and with respect to the condition of the joint probability there, so we are defining. So now let me generalize this. Suppose if we are having the condition with respect to the CDF or with respect to the condition of n number of random variables, even this n number of random variables, even that can be done with respect to the condition of my probability condition, probability of x1 less than the x1 when with the joint probability, RL something with so with respect to this corresponding to the condition of my demodulation there. So I need to relate it, or else something I need to discuss of the scenario. So whenever we have some signals which has to be mapped, at that condition, so only I say that this correlation as my correlation operator, or else I'll make use of this correlation with respect to the relation relating between the different random variables. And again, coming on to the next scenario, I'll make use of this correlation for my bivariate CDF condition, and this CDF condition, so we are going to deal with respect to the cumulative distribution function. So for this condition, let me take a simple example here, and we have some probability. So we have the input condition and we have the characteristic condition. So we have the set of values which can be plotted here. And in this plotting of the values, so it was clear that so we are dealing with respect to its individual values. Or else whenever we have along this value, that is my x and the y conditions, I need to bifurcate this and then we can take. So or else, according to the discussion still now, just I can take that. So with respect to the condition of the x we were doing, and again the y that has to be done separately, and which may result in the false values. And to avoid this, so we are going to deal with respect to the condition here. Now let me define this x and y value. Suppose say that I have some space x here, and in the some space yes, if I wish to take the values in this geometrical structure, also any value which is lying in this region here. So in this scenario, first let me bifurcate that, and again let me represent with respect to two different domains, that is my x as well as my y. And again, in this condition here, so we are familiar. So whatever we were dealing, so with respect to the condition of, so with respect to the condition of the notation or something with respect to my x and the y condition. So one thing you can represent here with respect to the x value, I have this along my x value, and as well I have my y value. Similarly, so we can observe here from this geometrical structure, so we have the y value which will be increasing along this value along my y axis. So let me take this incremental value as my dy. And again, similarly, you can observe here this x value, it is increasing with respect to the condition of my dx, or else we take this as something with respect to my x plus dx. As now I can tell that, so we have the conditions x plus dx condition, and as well as we have the conditions to deal with respect to my y plus dy conditions here. So now this I'm going to represent with respect to a function here. So just I can tell that, so I'm going to represent this dp. This dp is just, remember, the difference between the two values, something I have defined with respect to my x comma y, and as well as the incremental value x plus dx and y plus dy condition. With respect to these two functions, it was clear that, so we are dealing with respect to my two-dimensional condition, two-dimensional function, that is my f of x, or else basic definition there. We are familiar with respect to the condition there, f of xy condition. I am able to represent with the incremental value as the upper limit there, that is x plus dx and y plus dy, minus the lower limit, that is my f of xy with respect to my x comma y condition. And again, in this scenario, as we are dealing with respect to my CDF function, which is a non-decreasing function. So for that condition of the representation of my CDF scenario, so we are dealing with respect to the condition or as representation with respect to my Taylor's series. And this Taylor series, just I can tell that with respect to my dou by dou x, the partial differentiation with respect to my f of xy and dx and the dy, or else basically, so we are going to deal with respect to my dt, which stands for the differential function, or else differential difference between the two values of x and y, something with respect to x plus dx and y plus dy condition. And one thing we can observe in the previous graph itself, so it was clear we are dealing with respect to an increasing function itself. Or else just we can observe here, whenever we compare with the x and the dx condition, so we had the incremental value. Or else whenever we compare y with the dy value, so we had something with respect to the incremental value there. And again, so we need to discuss regarding the special cases of the bivariate CDF condition. And in case of my special cases of my CDF condition, that is my cumulative distribution function here. So again, let me tell that if this x and y, in case of my two values there, so it was clear we can define with respect to the limits of my minus infinity and as well as my plus infinity condition. So just a simple note here. So whenever we have if any one of the value is minus infinity, that results in the null set. So whenever we have the joint probability with respect to a null set condition, at that scenario, the total value that will be equal to 0. So only you can observe here if any one of the condition, if you have the minus infinity condition there, finally that CDF value that will be equals to 0. And again, as I said that the upper limit condition, we have something with respect to plus infinity. And in this plus infinity condition, it was clear that always the maximum value it can take 1. And again, in this maximum value, whatever we can take, so just it was clear that so whenever we have the two variables there, if one of the variable is plus infinity and we have only with respect to the y there, it was clear that we are dealing with respect to the condition of or else my two variables CDF or else bivariate CDF condition, it is going to change to my single variable condition. The same value for the condition of my y also, if the y value is are having the plus infinity condition, then straight away, so we are going to limit ourselves for the discussion with respect to my fx of x condition. And whenever we have the condition of plus infinity at both the ends, both my x value and y value both are plus infinity, and by default, so we have the condition there, we can have only the plus 1 condition. And again, as we are dealing with respect to my CDF condition, it was clear that the CDF will be always a non-decreasing function along the two axes, that is my x as well as the y. And again, based on my Taylor series itself, my we can define my bivariate CDF and the PDF conditions there. So it was clear my small fx of y. So you can observe here, as we have two variables, have the square of it, the partial differentiation with respect to my dou x as well as my dou y condition, fxy with respect to my xy condition. And again, coming on to the condition with respect to our basic definition, whatever we have defined with respect to the conditions of my single variable there, a single random variable there, fx of x is the first order partial differentiation of dou by dou x of fx of x condition. So now to find the CDF condition, so just I can represent with respect to the limits of minus infinity to the x condition. So f of x comma y. So with respect, you can take this as f of x comma y. This will be the dx condition. And again, in this condition of my bivariate random variables also, so we are going to deal with respect to the condition of my the total volume under my bivariate PDF condition, even that will be equals to 1. And again, whenever we are dealing with respect to my bivariate PDF condition, so again, it was clear that we are dealing with respect to the condition of my joint probability. Or else, whenever if you see this joint PDF or the bivariate PDF, both are same, and this will be continuous along both directions. That is my x as well as the y. And again, we have one more property with respect to my bivariate random variable, something to deal with respect to my independence property. Or else, whenever we have two-dimensional representation here, two variables here, that is my x as well as the y. Straight away, I can tell that this will be the individual mean value or else the variance value. Maybe in some of the problems, we require these things to be taken care with respect to my f of x and as well as my f of y condition. And this property we got as my independence property of my random variables. And based on this condition, so now I need to define something with respect to the expectation, or else something we need to deal with respect to the expectation of the bivariate random variable. And whenever I am going to say regarding the bivariate random variable, so it was clear that similar way we are going to define from the basic definition. So it was clear that the expectation of the x, and whenever this expectation of the x was there, so we were familiar that so we were dealing with respect to the integration itself. So it is the integration with respect to minus infinity to the plus infinity condition. Instead of the x, I have g of x comma y. This is my g of x comma y with respect to my f of xy with respect to x comma y and with respect to dx by dy. The same formula, same expectation, whatever we have discussed with the basic analogy itself. So we are defining this. And coming on to the next condition, just I have defined that. So this g of x comma y is something called some arbitrary function. Or else we say that, so whenever the random variable comes into picture, so it was clear that we are dealing with respect to something called the correlation. But in case of my two variables, so it is my duty to see that we are going to discuss regarding my covariance also. And based on this covariance, I am going to define the few properties of my bivariate expectation. I am going to derive the relationship between the covariance and the correlation, and I'm going to tell that some signals as my uncorrelated condition or else the orthogonal conditions there. So with the usage of a simple equation, so I can define this. And as well, in the previous slide itself, we have discussed with respect to my independent variables, or else whenever we say that the two random variables are there, and those two random variables, so we are going to tell with respect to the condition of they are independent to each other. So in that scenario, we are how to correlate between the conditions of variate condition, or else that, so whenever the correlation between the x and y is there, which is nothing but the expectation of x comma y. And if I can apply the expectation definition there, a simple product operation I am doing here, something we have with respect to my x as well as the y conditions here. So with respect to that scenario, so it was clear that it is simple integration there. As we have the two variables, I'm going to define with respect to my x as well as the y value, or else it is clear that as f of x comma y, whatever we are defining with respect to my two integrations there. And again in this condition, so it was very much efficient to define with respect to the limits, the same limits minus infinity to plus infinity itself. And with respect to my predefined function, something called f of x comma y, or something with respect to xy, this corresponds to my random variable, and x and y, this corresponds to the condition of my independent variables, that is my x as well as my y values. And based on this condition, I'm going to define the new term, this with respect to the condition of my single random variable. Now, in this scenario, so we are going to deal with respect to the condition of my two variables there. And in this two variables condition, it was very much clear we need to deal with respect to the covariance, as the variance you need to define with respect to my two-dimensional condition. And this two-dimensional covariance condition, I'm going to define this with respect to the expectation of x minus mu x, and this mu x is nothing but the mean value of my single variable x, and this mu y value, this is my mean value of my y value. And with the basic definition of the basic operation of my expectation itself, I'm going to apply the expectation operator. And as we have discussed, this expectation operator is as similar to my something similar to my Laplacian or the Fourier transform. There are the basic rule just we need to follow with respect to my expectation of a constant will always be a constant, or else this expectation should be defined only with respect to the particular random variable. So now let me perform this expectation for this variable, something called as x and y, or something with respect to the covariance of with respect to my x and y. In this condition, so let me take that as one thing you can observe here. We have these two random variables, that is my x and y, so which are related to each other. based on the condition of my x as well as the y through a product operator. So now I'm defining x as my value, something called the mean value, and we have the y value, which is nothing but y minus the mu y value. Now in that scenario, so let me take the condition simple multiplication there. So x into y and as well x into mu y and mu x into y and mu x into mu y condition. And by applying the constant property there, the expectation of a constant will be a constant expectation of the expectation of the y. And again, so again, I need to recall that whenever I was defining the expectation of the mean is also a mean value. So now you can observe here. Hello, Gaurav, I'm audible.
Yes, sir, you are audible. You can continue,
Sure.
sir.
So with respect to the product of these two expectations there, so it was clear that so we need to deal and expectation of the mean value, that will be the mean value itself. So applying this property here, so just the expectation of the x that changes to mu of x, expectation of mu x into mu y, right away it is going to change to mu x into mu y, and again the expectation of the y is my mu y condition. So now just I can define that the relationship between the covariance and the expectation with respect to the mean values. So I can tell that the covariance of the two random variables x and the y. So which will be equals to the expectation of two variables x and y with the subtraction of I can tell that the product of the mean values of individual random variables mu x and mu y, so which will be equals to the difference between the covariance and as well as my expectation operation or as the correlation operation there. So now whenever is any one of the mean value, either mu x or mu y, that will be 0. Then at that condition, with the simple substitution in this equation, I can tell that at that scenarios, my covariance will be equals to my correlation operation. Or else, just I can tell that whenever we are dealing with respect to the individual mean values, that is my mu x as well as my mu y value, it was clear that so if any one of the mean value is 0, then my total covariance value that will be equating our correlation operation. So based on this condition, so I need to define the properties of this. In this properties, nothing much in this. So just we can observe we have three set of variables. So in this equation, one thing I can make sure I have the covariance of x comma y. I have expectation of x comma y, that is my correlation operation. I have mu x as well as my mu y condition. At that scenarios, it is clear that if any one of the parameter is made as 0, I'm 3 will be my properties here. And again, whenever I wish to take with respect to my uncorrelated operator, and in this uncorrelated operator there, so I'm going to make my LHS value. You can observe here the covariance of x comma y. I'm going to make this as 0. And if this value is 0, it was clear that the correlation will be equals to my mean values. So which implies that so whenever there are no signals are matching, suppose see that we are expecting some sine wave signals, we are getting some other signals due to the noise. At that condition, we make use at the recovery stage or else something with respect to my synthesis. Or else whenever we wish to have the efficiency of the recovery as 100%, at that condition, I'm going to make this covariance value the correlation operator, that is my expectation of x comma y, that will be equals to the product of my mean values. And now, whenever these two signals, that is my x and y, they are orthogonal to each other. Or else, whenever we say that the two signals are orthogonal to each other condition, at that scenarios, my expectation will be zero. So only, signals, we say that whenever the two signals are orthogonal to each other, they are going to cancel out. So at that condition, we make use of this property, that is my expectation of x comma y, and something with respect to the correlation operation. And this correlation operation, we mean it as zero. At that condition, the covariance property of my x and y, that will be equals to the minus of the product of its individual mean values, that is my ux and uy. Coming on to the next property, that is my independent property there. So just I have defined something with respect to the condition of my x and y. Suppose if x has been raised to some power value and y has been raised to some power value there. So we call this expectation of x to the power of n with the multiplication of y to the power of m. At that condition, by using the linear property there, so just I can apply expectation of x to the power of n and the expectation of y to the power of m. Whenever these values are equal, when m is equals to n is equals to 1, straight away at that condition, I will tell that it is my individual independence property, the product of x comma y, that will be equals to expectation of the x and the individual product of expectation of y. So just by taking the condition of my m and value n value are equal. Even at that condition, you can take it as 2 also. So if m and n values are 2, it is the individual product of expectation of the x square with respect to my expectation of my y square condition. And whenever we say that, so we have both the x and y, they are independent to each other, which implies that they are not correlated. So, which implies that we need to see that whenever we have the signals to be considered in our communication. So, we have majorly, we make use of this term with respect to my frequency modulation techniques. In case of my frequency modulation techniques, so it was very much clear that, so we are going to match the frequencies and we are going to expect some frequencies only in that range. So at that scenarios, so whenever we get the different range of frequencies, so that different range of frequencies, that we should keep it aside. We need not consider that. So we at that condition, apart from the signals which are desired, other signals we are going to tell it as uncorrelated, so which are not required. That is what the condition of my two random variables x and y, which are uncorrelated conditions. And whenever me to deal with respect to my covariance conditions there. So now I need to define something with respect to the operator correlation. And for this operation for the correlation for my two variables x and y, I am going to define with respect to the rho. So which is nothing but the ratio of the covariance of my x and y and in the individual product of my standard deviation of my x as well as the y condition. And again, one more condition to be satisfied, even this correlation of coefficient, that will be always less than 1 itself. And please, one thing you should observe here, I'm not telling this as a non-negative number. So previously, I was telling that the non-decreasing function or a non-negative number there, it is less than 1. Even it can take the minus values also. So let us take with an example here. So we have some set of coefficients they have given, and if I can substitute in my previous equation and to find the covariance as well as the expectation of x comma y, I'm going to get the covariance as my 1.412. Just a simple example here I'm considering. You have to waste much time on this. So now this is more interesting one. So whenever the parameters are given, I said that the correlation coefficient that can be negative also. Whenever the covariance of x comma y, that will be a negative number. At that condition, my correlation coefficient also results in the negative, and as well as my expectation also comes with respect to my negative operator. And this is what with respect to the importance of the correlation coefficient. And whenever it is minus correlation there, which implies that the signals are under the range which was expected. And whenever it has got the positive value, the 0 to 1 condition, we can say that it is there in the expected range but below the expected range. Now coming on to this transformations there, in case of the transformations, so it is our duty to see that whatever we have defined with respect to my single random variable, in that single random variable, so we have defined something with respect to the probability mass function, and we took the summation of all that will be equals to 1, something we have done. So now coming on to the transformations with respect to my bivariate transformations there, that is the two variable transformations there. Let me define the two different equations, something we have the u as well as the v. And in case of my u and v, let me define with respect to my two random variables, that is my x as well as the y here. So that can be related through a equation, that is my ax plus by for the u, and again for the v I have the condition of cx plus dy condition. And if I take the mean values of it, for that mean values, the u value that will be equals to the mu u, and for the x value that is my the mu x condition, and again for the y value that is the mu y condition. Similarly for my equation number 2, that is my v value. So now let us calculate the variance of the u as well as the v separately, because we need to define the bivariate transformations there. So now in this scenario, let me substitute in the equation. Whenever I wish to find the variance there, way long back from my previous discussion also, we were telling that so u and mu u condition. So u I have ax plus by, and mu u also I have defined something like this. And let me perform some basic operation with respect to the powers there, the a plus b the whole square. So if I can apply here, just I'm taking a as the common factor here, I got this x minus mu x and y minus mu y. This implies that whenever we have the random variable x and with its mean value, similarly for the random value y with its mean value, and if they are related through an addition operation which gives me the condition of the a plus b the whole square, similar structure there, and by applying the scenario with respect to my expectation there, by using the basic property with respect to my expectation of a constant is a constant, and as well the expectation of the mean is always a mean value. So I'm going to get the condition here, the variance of the u value, this will be the a square with respect to my variance value, b square with the variance value of y, and 2ab, and this expectation of x minus mu x and y minus mu y, this previously we have done. This is just nothing but the covariance of x comma y. Similarly, I can do this for my v also by taking the values of my c and d, same steps. So I'm going to get this condition of my the variance of the v c square with respect to my variance plus b square with the variance is 2cd with the covariance of x comma y. And one thing you can observe here with respect to my u and the v condition, my covariance property that is constant for both the equations there. So which implies that just I can term this whenever we need to find the bivariate transformations with respect to the scenario of my variance there, the covariance of x comma y, that plays a major role. Even though the values are independent, but still again it is dependent on my covariance operator. So now covariance also for this u and v also we can relate the similar fashion. So now with the simple example, we can say that if the covariance operator is minus sorry, with this mu x and as well as the condition of the variance, something they have given, and with the simple substitutions in the previous formulas, so we are going to get the covariance as minus 24.5 and its variance. So with the basic conditions there, with the whatever the formulas we have derived till now, that can be easily done. And now coming on to the last part of this module with respect to my Gaussian bivariate random variable. And again in this Gaussian condition with the basic definition, let me recall with respect to my mu value as well as something with respect to my mean value and the variance, it will be 0 as well as the 1. But I can't take it directly with respect to my two variables there. So now in this condition, let me take or else the correlation operation, or else now for our discussion, let me define the two variables, something z1 as well as my z2 condition. And in this Z1 and Z2 are these two signals which are there between the conditions of my minus infinity as well as my plus infinity condition, as we have defined these two signals. And again, one thing we can observe here, I'm making use of the correlation of operator, something called as the rho Z value, which is less than 1, and minus of this will be always 1 minus of that square, that will be always a non-negative number. And we need that with respect to the condition of the similar way whatever we have defined with respect to my Gaussian function f of x condition 1 by root 2 by square root of so and so to e to the power of minus we have defined x square by 2. Similarly, I am defining this as I am considered the two random variables, something with respect to my bivariate random variables. So now that is going to get the condition, that is the final equations for this, for my PDF of a bivariate random variable. I can define that 1 by 2 pi square root of 1 minus the coefficient of my correlation with respect to e to the power of minus the z1 square minus so and so value 1 by 2 to the power 2 into 1 minus the rho z square condition. And I have got this with respect to individually defining the two Gaussian random variables, that is my z1 as well as my z2 condition. And even in this condition also I can prove that my mean value, that is the mu value or something with respect to the expectation of the random value, that will be 0, and the variance, that will be 1 as it is. That is the uniqueness of my Gaussian random variables. And whenever we have two independent random variables, the same property is going to apply. I can tell that, let me define z is equals to x plus y condition, where x is independent and y is independent. And if the application of my expectation operator, so we are going to get expectation of x plus y condition. And again, similarly, I can define this variance also, and in this variance condition, the variance of the z, which will be equals to the sum of the variance of my x as well as the y. Or else we can expect that whenever the sum of two Gaussian random variables are there, even at that condition, if the variables are independent, at that condition, the resultant variance will also be the sum of the independence itself. And again, coming on to my IID random variable, the term IID, which stands for the independent and identically distributed. So just you can observe in this graph, till now we have derived with respect to the random variables. At that scenarios, so we were telling that, so we had some function to be defined which will be increasing so and so conditions. But these IID random variables, they are not dependent, but they are identically distributed. So one thing you can observe in this graph, so linearly, so we have the condition, the samples which are related. They are independent, but they are identically distributed. We treat it as identical because you can observe here one thing, the values at these two, for these two random variables, even though they are independent, but still we have the condition of the same value, as it is going to follow function of my Bell function, inverted Bell function there. So we say that this IIDs is nothing but the collection of the random variables. So with the same probability distribution, they are not related, but they are mutually independent to each other. So which means h can be given by w, which is summation of xi. X always, which corresponds to my random variable, and I is going to vary between 1 to n value, and where n value, that defines me the number of samples there. So similar, I can define this expectation as the mean value. And again, the most importantly, one thing I can tell that the expectation of the W, that will be the product of the mean value of the mu x with respect to my n value. And again, the variance of the w also multiplied by n times of its variance value of my individual parameter, that is my x. And again, interestingly, so whenever we are defining with respect to the two random variables with respect to my xi as well as my xj condition, in case of my xi and xj condition, whenever the values of my I and j they are equal, that results in xi square. And whenever we have my xi square condition, at that condition, by using the previous derivation itself, straight away I can tell that by using this independent property, that is the square of the mean plus its variance, whenever it is not equal, I is not equal to j, at that condition individually I need to define the I value as well as the j value with respect to my mean values itself. And again, we make use of this condition with respect to my periodic signals whenever we need to recover, or else whenever we have the series of binary ones and zeros in our communication signals. At that conditions, we make use of this property of my IID. So now we are coming on to my central limit theorem. And in this central limit theorem under my Gaussian function itself, or bivariate Gaussian function itself, it just defines me the condition there whenever the number of trials or else number of iterations are increased, that gives me the better value with respect to my Gaussian PDF. So one thing you can observe here, for n is equals to 1, so we have the condition of both the conditions there which has got the highest value. Whenever I have increased the number of trials with respect to the phi, or else number of signals with respect to the phi conditions there, straight away I am going, or else whenever n is equals to 10 value, I got one towards my 20 there. Yes, it is as similar to my inverted bell structure of my Gaussian random variable. So straight away with this structure, I can tell that, so which will be equals to the condition of my the mean as well as the variance, that is 0 as well as the 1. Or else where we make use of this central limit theorem for various applications, whenever it comes to my condition of my statistics, or else the condition of my engineering statistics with respect to probability there, we make use as the number of samples are increased, and we are going to approximate the density functions. And with respect to that scenario, so we are going to define the averages there. So in that averages condition, so only one thing we got to make sure, the variance value that will be decreased by 1 by n times. So coming on to the verge of this module there, as we have defined with respect to the conditional joint probability with respect to single variables, we have defined there something, hope you can recall with respect to my space B, whatever we have defined. Even the same thing can be applied for my two random variables. So that is my x and the y I have defined with respect to my joint probability condition, and making sure that the probability of B, it should be always the non-negative value, and its PDF condition which also be given with respect to my second order condition of my partial derivative. So with respect to the values of x, xy subjected to the B value, and we are going to get this. So if you can observe in the graph, so in your condition there, whenever we have some point here, and that some point needs to be represented with respect to my x as well as the y. And again, in this x and y condition, so it was clear that, so we are going to deal with respect to the condition of my mean value. And whenever we wish to define with respect to the mean value condition, so it was very much clear that, so we need to subject it to for my condition of probability of B itself. That is what the condition we are taking care. And again, the next scenario, so whenever we need to deal with respect to this random variables condition, most importantly, so we are going to get the four different conditions and four different ways of its representation based on the condition of its operation. So we tell that the chi-square test, the student's t random variable, the Cauchy's random variable, all these first three conditions, they are going to fall into the condition with respect to my Gaussian function. And whenever if I say that it is a Gaussian function, so it was clear that so we are dealing with respect to the inverted bell structured graph, and as well something with respect to -3 and the +3 we have defined. And whenever it comes to my Rayleigh's random variable, so we are going to make use with respect to check that the possibilities of fixing of an IC on an random space. So or else if it is going to check the condition, or else we are going to make use of Rayleigh's random variable. Now for the chi-square test, so now we'll just quickly rushing through. I got minutes of time. So in this condition, we say that as to my central limit theorem, as the number of trials are increased, one thing we can tell that, so we are going to deal with respect to the condition, or suppose you can observe in the graph, so we have the condition of the 10 trials there. For first trial, we had a narrow graph here, narrow response, and for the 5 value, still something the better one, but for the 10 value there, number of the V value we have increased at that condition, so we can get the graph which is similar to my Gaussian graph, something with respect to my mean as well as the variance. But one thing why we are stressing much on this Gaussian graph is that, so we are going to get the wide density here. One thing we can observe, if you can compare with respect to the one, so we had very less probability, or else very less conditions of the approximation. But whenever it was 10 there, we got the wide coverage there, each and every minute value, the fractional values, so we can address it. Coming on to this students T random variable there, so again this curve is going to serve us the better as the number of trials are increased. So we are going to define something with respect to the function of my gamma function here. So gamma of r plus 1 by 2, r defines me the number of trials conditions there, and this r is directly dependent here. We can observe with respect to my inverse relation with respect to my v. And again, whenever we have the v value as increased for plus infinity conditions there, we have exactly the same condition of my Gaussian curve. And again, we can observe that even the spectral densities can also be improved. Coming on to the last one, that is my Cauchy's random variable. This Cauchy's random variable, just we need to check with respect to the comparison, something with respect to my Gaussian curve as well as my Cauchy's distribution. So one thing we can observe, which we can see in our maroon color structure with my Cauchy's condition, so which covers the lesser value and lesser density. Whenever you take the inverted Bell function, something with respect to my Gaussian function here, with the same values, so we have this function. But the uniqueness and the most important property of this Cauchy's random variables is that, so whenever the values are increased, the structure we are going to get. But in case of my Gaussian condition, we didn't have the control on my mean value. Here, in case of my Cauchy's random variables condition, we have something to deal with respect to the scenario of my mean values also. And whenever we wish to locate some arbitrary point, suppose take this, so I have the condition to deal with respect to the radius of the R, or else majorly these Rayleigh's random variables, which will be used by the astronauts whenever they wish to locate some particles in the space there. So what is their distance, and by using the radius of the calculations, so we are going to get this Cauchy's random variables there. So we are going to define with respect to my distance formula, my square root of x square plus y square. One thing we can observe here, suppose if I wish to locate this point here, and I have r as my radius here, and we have the theta is the angle between my x-axis as well as the condition there. And if I need to locate this, it is uniqueness to deal with respect to my Rayleigh's random variable. And similarly, we have defined with respect to the region of the R. Previously, this limits I was taking with respect to minus infinity and as well as the plus infinity condition. Now I'm taking over the region R. And we make use of this property even in case of my engineering electromagnetics, which we can expect in our next semester with respect to the condition of the total charge, which will be there that we are taking. And before winding up, so just we have discussed a few topics, or else according to our syllabus. So we have discussed regarding my single random variables. Under the single random variables, I have done with the discussion of my PDF, the CDF, and the Gaussian random variables. And my multiple random variables, I have defined limited our discussion according to the syllabus with respect to my bivariate random variables and by defining various distributions. Hope I'm done with this. So now let me know if any queries and the comments.
Thank you, sir, for your presentation. It was wonderful, and I hope that the students will make use of it for their examination studies.
Thank you, Gaurav. Hopefully, hope I have assisted a little bit.
Yes, sir. And we have a couple of questions in the chat window. I'll be reading it out so you can answer them.
Yes, sir, sure.
There's one question from Manjushri. She's telling that the subject is introduced to the syllabus for the first time. So, what measures need to be taken to score well in this subject?
So one thing with the experience in the VTU, strictly stick on to the syllabus, and we can't take any measures. Just as usual with the VTU practice, go with the condition of the two model papers are available.
Okay.
So concentrate on it, and meanwhile, if I can solve that, so most probably by the next week I can share with the Pushpamala madam. So hope they will circulate with you.
Okay. And there's another question from Punamma. She's saying that the subject feels so difficult when it comes to understanding the graphs and its practical imagination or examples. So, can you give some suggestions to how to go through this, sir?
Sir, may I know this Ponnamma madam is student or a faculty?
Uh, we'll just ask her, sir. I think she's a student only, sir.
If she is a student, so we require this basics in future, maybe in coming next semester. We have communication systems and as well as engineering electromagnetics.
Okay.
Completely, we are going to implement there, or else each and every topic we can relate for the electronic system, like
Okay.
especially with respect to my communication, as well as the charge and the curve charge with respect to the parallel plates, or else this is completely a communication oriented subject,
Okay.
serves as the basics. And if they are from the electrical background, we are going to require that whenever in detail they are going to study for the motors and the windings. And again, whenever they are going to expect the number of times with respect to the windings, there it is going to help.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, sir. And I think only these were the questions which were put up on the chat window.
Yeah,
So,
thank you, sir. Fine.
yeah, if anyone wants to like contact you, so can you share the mail ID, sir, so that we can share it to them and they can ask any questions for you.
Yes, sir, I have inserted in the last slide. Hope.
Okay, okay. So when we share the slides to them, then I think they can get that.
Yeah, sure, sure, sure.
Okay, sir. And on behalf of Bangalore section, we thank you for spending your time and making the session wonderful, sir. So thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir. It was pleasure time. Thank you.
Yeah. So we have another session coming up on 12 o'clock. I think it's for the sixth semester students. So interested ones can join and also please join the sessions which are going to happen from tomorrow onwards.